Hi, this is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I want to demonstrate these birthday cards, and they could also be a wedding card, that I made using the new Sweet Soiree Suite out of the New Occasions catalog. There are so many yummy things that you can make with this set that, to be honest with you, it really overwhelmed me, and I really didn't know where I wanted to go with how I wanted to put together a project. It has lots of ideas in the catalog, and you can see all the different products that are included with this suite. The products that I'm going to be using today are going to be the decorative masks and the embossing paste. I'm also going to be using the DSP and the stamps out of the stamp set. It also comes with bundles, and there's some really neat framelits that I'm going to be using as well, and showing you some of the neat uses that they have. So let's put this aside and talk about the cards that we're going to be putting together. So these are the 3 cards that we're going to put together. So I'm going to put those aside, and you're basically going to need cardstock. I'm using Berry Burst, and that's our standard card base at 5 1/4 by 4, or rather 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. Then a piece of Whisper White that's cut at 5 1/4 by 4, and then a piece of DSP that's cut at 2 by 5 inches. Then this is Marina Mist with the Whisper White cardstock cut at the same dimensions, and a piece of coordinating DSP. I'm using Old Olive, piece of Whisper White, and then a piece of the coordinating DSP. And it's basically this piece flipped around that has the neat foil embossing on it. So these are our base cards that we're going to be using. The inks I'm going to be using are going to be Berry Burst and Marina Mist, and that's because that's what I'm going to be stamping our cakes out of. And you could even throw in a little bit of Sweet Sugar Plum. The bundle comes with your framelits as well as 2 cases of stamps. That's how many stamps are in this bundle. But let me show you how I organized. Because I have 2 cases, I basically took all my stamps and I put them in one case, and I open it up and kind of lay it flat. Then I took all my framelits and I organized them in a separate case right here. So I have both cases, but I have all my products, all my pieces and parts kind of organized in 2 separate locations so that I can keep track of everything. So that's how I think it's a really good idea to organize. I also am going to use these embossing folders that come from the New Occasions catalog, and they're called the Petal Pair. And the embossing folder I really like is this really pretty floral embossing folder. So I'm going to take that out because I'm going to definitely be using that. Here are my decorative masks, and the decorative masks come, there's 2 of them, one of which is this really nice floral kind of garland design, and this one is the one that we're going to use for decorating our cakes. The first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take out my my cake, very plain my cake stamp, and I'm just going to close this off, and I'm going to get some Whisper White cardstock, and it can be in all kinds of shapes and sizes. I kind of liked this right here, this long piece. I have a short piece here. So let's go ahead and stamp our cakes first. And I kind of like this process because, to be honest with you, I felt a little bit, I kind of got into it because I felt a little bit like I was a baker. And here I am stamping my cakes nice and rich. Okay. And now I'm going to take a piece of paper towel and make sure these dry off. They dry really well. Piece of paper towel, and I'm going to take a piece of my silicone mat. And I'm going to start at the top with my mask, and you can see I can lay this down and I can lay it up at the bottom or in the middle. Same thing with this color, this squirrely design. I could do it at the bottom or I could do it at the middle. So, and then this one here is the polka dot design. Now I'm going to alternate between the silver and the white. I will tell you that the silver is very, it's pretty runny. So I'm going to be a little bit careful with that. And I'm just going to go ahead and take some of this paste, and I'm going to, let me go ahead and get in. I'm going to line it up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put my embossing paste right over it. Pick up the extra and lift it up. Okay, so I'm done with that one. If I want to do another polka dot one, I want to go ahead and I just want to grab it and lay it down right away on my next cake and do the same thing. Pick some up, and you don't need a lot because this is, I found my paste to be very, very runny. So I just kind of, I'm using this wide spatula so that I have control and I can spread quickly. Okay, so there we got that one. So I'm going to put this one aside, and now I'm going to do, this is the sweet sugar plum. So I'm going to lay this one down. And we're going to do the same thing. Make sure I get all my little things filled, and I do. So those are all filled, lifted up, ta-da. Okay, I feel like a real baker. So I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, and I'm going to kind of just mist my mask very lightly because I'm going to go on to this next side over here. So I've kind of taken care of that one. So I've cleaned it off, and now let's go back and start with, and let me just pull out so you can see what I'm doing. I have these done here. So now I'm going to put these aside, and we're going to do the next cake. This one I'm going to pick this swirly pattern, and I'm going to put that right about in the middle. And don't worry if it gets out beyond your cake, because when we cut these with your framelits, it's going to cut off, so it's not going to be a problem. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and I have lots of control with this nice wide one, and lift. There we go. And let's do this blue one here. This is where you have to get a little bit kind of organized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one off. Okay, I'm going to set this one off to dry. Now I've got this one. I'm going to cut this one off and set this one off to dry. So I'm kind of, as I'm doing them, I'm cutting them off, and I'm going to set them aside so that I can keep working. I can keep working with my cakes, and I really found that this, you know, if you're going to do this, if you're going to invest the time to do it, then this is the best way to organize your workflow. Just kind of get it together and then just do it. Here you go. See that? Just clean that up. Boom. Isn't that pretty? So I got that one done. I'm going to put this one aside to dry. And let's see. I'm done with the silver. I'm going to do the rest of them in the white. So I'm just going to clean off my tools. I'm going to again, I'm just going to take this paper towel. Okay, so let's move that aside, and let's bring in my very pretty shimmery frosting or shimmery paste. Okay, so while all our little cake decorating is setting, and it does take a while for them to set, the white embossing paste, not so much. That's pretty much dry. It's the silver frost embossing paste that you really need to make sure that it does set, because it will. It's a little thick, and it needs just a little bit more time to set up. So you want to make sure that those do dry well. So now we're going to emboss our cake, and we're going to use this stamp pad right here. So I'm going to switch out from just my plain cake to my decorated cake. And in fact, you know, I have an idea. I'm going to take we're going to do something different here. I'm going to do one. It's going to be, we're going to do that. Okay. And let me clean that off. And then we're going to take our Versamark and we're going to do a couple of these cakes are going to be plain. I also have a piece of vellum here because while I'm doing all this embossing, I want to do everything in one step. So just watch how easy this is. This one, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove my outline because it didn't quite match up. So I don't really want that. I don't really want that embossed. All I really want embossed is the flowers. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm kind of removing, I'm removing around the outside because all I want to keep are the embossed flowers. A 1 3/8 punch, and I'm just going to punch these out. Okay, so now I have my happy birthdays punched out. I'm going to put them aside. Okay, so while these are still drying, because I want to make sure that they're very dry, we're going to move in here. And we're going to color. We're going to color our cakes using our stamping markers. I'm using Calypso Coral, and I'm using the Razzleberry, the pink, and the yellow. These are my colors. Okay, so now that we have all our cakes, we're going to collect them because they have dried. Everything's dry. So I'm going to move them aside, and I'm going to bring in the Big Shot because now we're going to do some cutting. And what we're going to cut is, first we're going to cut our framelets, and with that I am going to need the magnetic platform. And we are going to cut our cakes. Okay, that may seem like a lot of cutting, but look at all the choices that we have. That now you can put these away and you can pull these out whenever you want to make a card, because you have just sat down and done it all at once, and you have all these wonderful birthday cakes that you can now put in your little stack. So we're going to put those there, because the next thing we're going to do is okay, so now that we've finished cutting our cakes, we're now going to have to cut some foil. So I'm going to get rid of the magnetic plate, and I'm going to bring in my precision base plate, because the pieces that we're going to be cutting are going to be this cake stand, this ribbon, this flower, and these little pieces and parts in silver. Some green cardstock, but before I take the green cardstock, I'm going to take a piece of this Sizzix and I'm going to put it to the back of my green cardstock like this. Okay, then I'm going to take this and I'm going to make sure that I have it lined up with the back. We're going to cut these pieces here. Okay, so now that I have I've got all my little pieces here cut, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take off my adapter plate, and I'm going to get I'm using my Big Shot platform and my 2 base plates, because I'm going to take my embossing folder. I hope this is, yeah, and these white pieces that I have here for my cards, we're going to take this and we're going to line up my card like that so that I can see the Stampin' Up thing. So I have cut out all my little cakes. I have cut out my cake stands out of my silver foil. I have also gone through with my little piercing tool and made sure that all my little holes are empty. I have my other little pieces and parts here. I have these little roses. I cut some stems and leaves out of the old olive and the silver, and these little bows right here, which we're going to need. So I have those off in this pile. I also, as you remember, we embossed these little happy birthday pics that are going to go on top of our cake. Here are my card bases with their matching DSP. I got 3 of those. I also embossed with the embossing folder the 3 layers that are going to go with our card bases. Now I'm going to decorate. I'm going to take the DSP and I'm going to fussy cut some of the flowers here that I want to use to decorate on my cake. So some little flowers. You're also going to need some of this silver ribbon. I believe this is the 1/8 silver ribbon. So we're going to put that aside. So now we're ready to construct our cards. So I'm going to start out with this card here. This is where my DSP is going to go. It's going to go right there. So now I have my 3 top layers. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to pick out the cake toppings that we want to use. I kind of like this cake here. I like this cake here, and let's see, what if we picked that cake there? Or better yet, so you really have, you know, you can play around with this. You have lots of things that you can do. I kind of like that right there. So this was my sweet sugar plum with the silver, and then this is the one that I embossed, and then here is the one that I colored. So now what I want to do is I just want to get a piece of tear tape, and I'm going to put it right on the back of each one of these little cake stands. Okay, so now I have my cake stands. So now all I'm going to do is we're going to locate them right about here. I'm going to put my happy birthday right there on each one of my cards. And then we're going to, I'm probably going to embellish this one with a little bit of, with a little flower. I think that's going to look pretty there. I want to add the bows on top of each one of my cakes. This is my little topper, but that's not a problem, because if I don't have a bow, I can use gorgeous flower. See, that would look so pretty. That would look very pretty right there. And then I can put this behind. Oh, there it is, see? I knew I had a bow. I knew I had a bow there. What did I just do with it? There. Okay, 3 bows. And let's go ahead and start putting together. So all I'm going to do is just put these up on dimensionals right here. Take a little bit of silver bow. Let's take a piece of this green right here. And I'm going to peel the back off of this green. And we're just going to add that. So there they are. They're all decorated. So now we're just going to go ahead and match them up to their corresponding card back. So we're going to put this one here, this one here, and this one there. So let me just go ahead and put those together. Okay, there we go. We've got 3 cards that we put together using the Sweet Soiree stamp set. What we did is we went ahead and we stamped our cakes, and we used all our different embossing, our embossing masks and our different embossing tape pastes. And now I have all these neat cakes that I can go ahead and slip into this envelope for when I want to make another card. I also went and I cut all these neat little shapes here that I don't necessarily need right away, but I'm going to save them in this little box, because when I go to make another card, I can go and I can pull out all these neat little pieces that I have in here. And here's another cake that I'm just going to go ahead and put in here. So I have all these neat pieces and parts. If I wanted to go ahead and tie some ribbons, I could tie some ribbons. But here you go. I have all my little pieces. Then what we did is when we put together the card, we used our DSP, but remember, we only used 2 by 5 for each one of our cards, set on the Whisper White of 5 1/4 by 4, and then embossed with our embossing folder. We then layered our cake with some of our cutouts that we die cut, as well as using some of this really pretty DSP to cut out some of these flowers, which really wasn't hard at all. Added the little bow and then a little silver bow, and then just some other accents. Now what's really special about this is that these cards show the different techniques. This one we embossed with silver, and then we colored in using our alcohol inks to match with this Calypso coral, and to pull out some of the old olive, as well as some of this sweet sugar plum color here. Here I stamped the cake with the berry burst and then embossed. Now remember, this isn't photopolymer, so I used my stamp set with the pretty shape on it. So I basically took this stamp and stamped my color, and then I took my line pretty decorated stamp and I stamped it as close as I could on top of it, even though they are not photopolymer. But what I did is I took a brush and I brushed away my corners because they didn't line up, and all I left was the pretty embossing piece, and that came out really, really nice. So that's a neat technique to use. And then again, I used the Sweet Sugar Plum, which is just a shade lighter than this nice berry burst, and decorated it with some of the cutout flowers. And my sentiment is set up on a piece of vellum that is also silver embossed, and it just adds just enough contrast to the whole card. So here you go. This is my favorite pick for the Sweet Soiree Suite, using the cakes, which can be either a wedding cake, or here I have them all as birthday cakes. You can go ahead and you can sit down and you can get all your pieces ahead of time and really have a lot of fun kind of decorating your cakes, and then spend the time to cut out your smaller pieces with your die cuts. I really hope you enjoyed this. This is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection. Happy stamping.